Types of plant tissues. All organisms are made up of cells. While the number of cells in plants and animals varies from species to species, a living organism may comprise of single cell like in Euglena or billions of cells as in a tree. An individual plant contains many types of cells, each adapted to perform a particular function. Each plant cell is self-contained and at least partially self-sufficient. This is because plant cells have a number of organelles that perform all necessary functions. In plants, the processes of differentiation and specialization allow groups of cells that are structurally or functionally distinct to form tissues that have specific functions. Plant tissues are of two types: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissue is mainly responsible for the growth of the plant as it consists of actively dividing cells. It is of three types: apical, lateral, and intercalary. Meristematic tissue, which is present at the tip of stem, root, and other branches, is called apical meristems. This tissue brings about the elongation of the shoot and root. Dividing meristematic cells at tip of the plant are responsible for increasing length of the shoot. It results in an increase in the height of the plant. As apical meristem is responsible for primary growth, so known as primary meristem. Meristematic tissue present in a root tip divides actively and helps the root to penetrate deep into the soil. This is axillary bud. It also contains lateral meristematic tissue. Dividing cells of lateral meristem are responsible for growth in thickness and causes the organ to increase in diameter. This is responsible for secondary growth. In monocot plants, another type of meristematic tissue is present: intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristems are located at the base of leaves. It is found only in monocots like grass, banana, canna, etc. Permanent tissue. Second category of plant tissues is permanent tissue. These tissues are actually derived from meristematic tissues. The cells of permanent tissues do not have the ability to divide. These cells are already differentiated in different tissue types and are now specialized to perform specific function. Permanent tissues are classified into two categories: simple permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue. According to this classification of the permanent tissues, tissues that are composed of only one type of cells are called simple permanent tissues, while those made up of two or more types of cells are called complex permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues are composed of cells which are structurally and functionally similar. Three types of cells make up this type of tissue. These cells are parenchymatous cells, collenchymatous cells, and sclerenchymatous cells. Second type of permanent tissue, that is complex permanent tissue, consists of two types of structures. Each of these is made up of a number of cells. These structures are xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem both are responsible for conduction of material from one part of the plant to another. As these structures are the ensemble of many types of cells, they are considered as tissue and jointly both are categorized as vascular tissue. Parenchyma. Parenchyma cells are living cells. These cells are generally oval but polygonal when packed together. Deep down, they are elongated. The cell wall is thin and encloses a dense cytoplasm which contains a small nucleus and a large central vacuole. The large central vacuole allows the cell to store and regulate ions, waste products and water. They are widely distributed in several organs of plant body such as stem, roots, leaves, flowers and fruits. These cells form the most common and versatile ground tissue. Parenchymatous cells take different shape and perform different functions when present in different parts of the plant. Parenchyma serves as a packing tissue to fill the spaces between other tissues and maintain the shape and firmness of the plant due to turgid nature of its cells. When parenchyma cells contain chloroplasts and perform photosynthesis, they are known as chlorenchyma. When parenchyma cells contain large intercellular air spaces and functions in gas exchange, the cells are known as aerenchyma. There are certain parenchymatous cells that function to store carbohydrates. Collenchyma. Collenchyma cells are elongated and have unevenly thickened cell walls. Like parenchyma cells, they are still alive when mature. Collenchyma provides structural support, particularly in growing shoots and leaves. The cells are characterized by the deposition of extracellulose at the corners of the cells. In collenchyma, intercellular spaces are generally absent. Sclerenchyma. Mature sclerenchyma is composed of dead cells with extremely thick cell walls. Evenly distributed thickness of cell wall is due to deposition of cellulose and lignin. Due to excessive width of the wall of these cells, cell cavity or lumen is nearly absent. The cells of sclerenchyma are closely packed without intercellular spaces. Sclerenchyma tissue is a supporting tissue. There are two types of sclerenchyma cells, fibers and sclereids. Fibers are generally long, slender cells which commonly occur in strands. Fibers are of great economical importance since they make up the source material for many fabrics such as flax, hemp, and jute. Sclereids are variable in shape and usually shorter than fiber cells. They make up the seed coats of the seeds, the shells of nuts, and the stone of stone fruits. Xylem and phloem are two types of complex permanent tissues, each composed of many types of cells. Xylem is composed of 4 different types of cells: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem sclerenchyma. 2 types of cells perform conducting action and the other 2 provide mechanical support. Both tracheids and vessel elements are dead when mature and have thick lignified cell walls. Vessels are very long tube-like structures formed by a row of cells placed end to end. It forms a continuous series of tubes up the stem, allowing more efficient water movement. Tracheids are long, tapering cells with pits in their walls, through which the water passes as it moves up the plant. The main function of xylem is to carry water and minerals in upward direction from the root to different parts of shoots. Phloem is second type of complex permanent tissue. Phloem also contains 4 different types of cells: sieve tubes, companion cells, fibers and parenchyma. Sieve tube members are highly specialized. The ends of these cells are perforated by porous structure known as sieve plate. The conducting material passes through the sieve plate from one sieve tube member to another. Phloem transports sugar, proteins and minerals around the plant. Unlike the xylem where flow is only one way, from the roots up, phloem can move sugars both up and down the stem. Permanent tissues can also be grouped into tissue systems, and in plants, 3 such systems are present: dermal tissue, ground tissue and vascular tissue. The dermal tissue is the boundary between the plant and the outside world. It functions in protection against water loss, regulation of gas exchange, and absorption of water and mineral nutrients in case of roots. There are 2 main types of dermal tissues: epidermis and periderm. The epidermis is the primary outer protective covering of the plant body. Epidermal cells are irregularly shaped and do not contain any type of pigment, so look transparent. Cells of the epidermis are also modified to form stomata and hairs of various kinds. The cells forming epidermis are of parenchymatous type. They are covered on the outer surface by a special waxy coating known as cuticle. Stomata are openings in the epidermis, mainly on the lower surface of the leaf, that regulate gas exchange in the plant. It is formed by 2 specialized epidermal cells called guard cells, which regulate the diameter of the pore. Epidermis has some other structures also, like trichomes. Trichomes are minute hairs projecting outwards. Hairs are appendages extended from epidermal cells. They exist in a variety of forms and are commonly found in all plant parts. The other dermal tissue type is the periderm or bark. It replaces the epidermis of stems and roots when the plant gets old or shows secondary growth. Ground tissue. Ground tissue fills interior of plant. Ground tissue is made up of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Most of a plant's body is made up of ground tissue, which has a variety of functions including photosynthesis, storage of carbohydrates and mechanical support of the plant. Vascular tissue. Vascular tissue system consists of the two conducting tissues, xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem, along with the other supporting and protective cells, form vascular bundles. Vascular bundles in plants are arranged in such a way that they form a continuous system throughout the plant. It conducts water, mineral salts and synthesized food substances and provides mechanical support. Vascular tissue is also known as conducting tissue. The phloem and the xylem together form a continuous vascular system throughout the plant. Types of animal tissues. All organisms are made up of cells. While the number of cells of which the organism are made of varies from species to species. A living organism may comprise a single cell like an amoeba or billions of cells as in an elephant. An individual animal contains many types of cells, which further join to form tissue and then organ. The processes of differentiation and specialization at tissue level allow each organ to make it responsible for performing particular function. The human body consists of some 100 trillion cells, although it starts its development from a single cell, the zygote. Cells are grouped into tissue, or you may say that a living tissue is made from a group of cells with similar structure and function. Animals have 4 types of tissues: epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous. The tissues are arranged in such a way that the cells present in them work as a team to make the working of that organ possible. Here are some examples of tissues: skin covering body, the lining of the intestine, components forming blood. A group of different tissues work together to do a particular job when present in the form of organs. Here are some examples of organs: heart, lung, stomach, brain, etc. Each of these organs is made up of different tissues. For example, stomach has different layers of cells. Inner lining of epithelial cells, smooth muscular tissue forming its basic body. Blood as a type of connective tissue, and nerves as the cells of nervous tissue are uniformly distributed throughout the organ. This way, multiple tissues compose organs and body structures. The study of tissue is known as histology. It is the study of the microscopic anatomy of cells and tissues of plants and animals. Animal tissues are of four basic types: epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissues. Generally, animals are said to be made up of these basic four types of tissues, but the presence of these tissues may differ, depending on the type of organism. The epithelial tissues are formed by cells that cover the organ surfaces and the inner lining of the body systems. Epithelial tissue is commonly referred to as epithelium. The epithelial tissue forms a lining for some part of the body. It is composed of closely packed cells arranged in flat sheets. Epithelial tissues form the surface of the skin, line many body cavities, and cover the internal organs. The cells in this type of tissue are very closely packed together with no spaces between them. With a tightly packed arrangement, it is expected that this tissue serves some type of barrier and provides protective function. If epithelium gets damaged, the chances of germ infecting our body through that exposed area increases. As a group, epithelial tissues perform a variety of functions including protection, absorption, excretion, secretion, and lubrication, etc. Classification of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is commonly classified based on the shape of the cells. Note: the shape of the cells and the location of nuclei in three types of epithelial tissues. Squamous epithelium. The shape of cells is like flat tiles on a floor. The shape of the nucleus also takes the shape of the cell. Squamous cells, for example, have horizontally flattened elliptical nuclei because of the thin, flattened form of the cell. Cuboidal epithelium. As the name indicates, cuboidal cells are almost square or cuboidal in shape. Each cell has a spherical nucleus in the center. This shape also resembles a dice. Columnar epithelium. Cells appear rectangular in side view with the nucleus displaced towards the base of the cell. This shape also resembles a brick's shape. Classification of epithelial tissue is also based on the number of cell layers. When the tissue is organized into one-celled thick layer, it is classified as simple. When the cells forming this tissue are arranged in more than one layer of cells, the tissue is named as stratified. As the name indicates, connective tissue serves to support and to bind other tissues. It holds organs in place and connects various parts of the body. The most common type of connective tissue is loose connective tissue. Connective tissue is the most diverse of the four types of tissue with a wide variety of types and functions. It is present in different forms ranging from a fluid-like connective tissue, blood to another connective tissue which is very hard, bone. The connective tissues generally consist of various types of cell population surrounded by a ground substance. The proportion of cells and ground substance varies greatly from one type of connective tissue to another. Muscular tissue. Cells present in muscular tissue have specialized cells that have the ability to contract and expand. Muscular tissue is responsible for movement of the body and changes in the size and shape of internal organs. Muscular tissue is the most abundant. Muscle cells are generally referred to as muscle fibers, and they are highly specialized for contractions. Such contractions may result in the movement of the whole body or a portion of it if the muscles are attached to a movable part of the skeleton. If the muscle is located in the wall of a hollow organ, its contractions may cause the contents of the organ to move. Example: peristaltic movement of material through the digestive tract. Types of muscle tissues. 3 types of muscle tissue are distinguished on the basis of structure and their location. Striated or skeletal muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle is the most abundant tissue in the vertebrate body. These muscles are attached to bones and bring about movement in our body, hence they are named as skeletal muscles. Unstriated or smooth muscle tissue is made up of thin elongated muscle cells. These cells are responsible for involuntary movements such as the contraction of the smooth muscle tissue in the walls of the stomach and intestines. Cardiac muscle tissue. This is a unique tissue found only in the walls of the heart. Cardiac muscle tissue shows some of the characteristics of smooth muscle and some of skeletal muscle tissue. Nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is composed of 2 types of cells, neurons and neuroglial cells. The tissue also consists of several sensory fibers. Nervous tissue forms the brain, spinal cord, and different types of nerves. This tissue primarily connects the central nervous system to the rest of the body. This tissue is responsible for sensing stimuli and transmitting signals to and from different parts of an organism. Neurons are the basic unit of nervous tissue. Nerve cells have long finger-like projections that are able to conduct and transmit signals. Nerve cells are variable in appearance, but all neurons have a cell body and certain processes. The cell body contains the nucleus and other organelles that maintain the nerve cell. The processes extend from the nerve cell to communicate with other cells. There are 2 types of processes: dendrites that receive impulses and axons that transmit impulses. These processes are specialized for the conduction of electrical impulses which allow communication among other tissue types.